All right, let's go ahead and connect both our front end and back end. So far, we have our front end running on localhost port 3000, and we also have our back end written in Spring Boot running on port 8080, and we have this endpoint /students that returns an array of students. And remember, for now, we're just hard coding this list right here, but we're going to connect to a database very soon. So let's go ahead and have our React application consume this endpoint /students. So go ahead and so what I want to do is first cancel this process, i.e. our front end. So I'm going to cancel this. And if I go back and actually refresh right here, you see that's not working. So what I want to do is actually use the terminal within VS Code. So I'm going to navigate to help and then search for terminal. And there we go. So you can see that we have a terminal right here. So let me go ahead and clear that. And I can simply say yarn and then start or npm start. They will both work, right? So npm start. And now you should see that we successfully started the front end again. So let's actually go ahead and create a client that will hit that endpoint. So for that, what I want to do first is actually download this awesome dependency or npm library called unfetch. So unfetch, click on the very first link. And basically, it's just an API that allows you to perform some HTTP requests and is very, very minimal, right? So if I scroll down, you can see this is how you use it. npm install, save, and then unfetch. And then right here, you can see that you can say, if I scroll down right here, so you can say a simple GET request, fetch, and then to the actual endpoint right here. And then you get the actual data, right? So let's actually go ahead and integrate and fetch with our project. Go ahead and open up VS Code. And what I'm going to do is actually cancel the server first. And then I'm going to say npm and then install, or you can say I and then -- save, or you can say dash and then save and then unfetch. Enter. Now this will go ahead to the npm registry and download this dependency for us to use it. Just give it a second. And there we go. So now if I open up the package.json, you can see that we have unfetch right here. Now let's go ahead and open up app, right? So this app, so you can see that right here, we simply return this h1 that has Hello World, Spring Boot, and React within it. So if I actually close this for now, inside of source, let's go ahead and create a new class or a new JavaScript file, basically. So this will be client.nnjs. Now let's go ahead and import the actual fetch, and then from, and then this will be unfetch, right? So let's actually name it fetch. And this name fetch right here comes from the native browser fetch. So now let's go ahead and create a new method that will allow us to hit the actual endpoint and grab some students. So go ahead and simply say const and then get all and then students. And this will be a function. And in this function, what we want is simply say unfetch, or actually fetch. So we've named it fetch. So this fetch right here. And now we could simply say localhost, right? And then 8080. And then /students. Just like that, right? And then semicolon there. Now you see that localhost 8080 and then /students. So this is the actual, so if I open up our server endpoint, so this is this URL right here, right? So localhost 8080 and then students. So if we have like a very large application, you can see that we have to pretty much just include localhost and then column 8080 for every single request. So what we can do actually is instruct our development server for any request that doesn't include the accept HTML header to actually proxy the request to our server, i.e. we can simply remove this local host and then just leave it like that. So anytime we see something like that that doesn't include an HTML response, we simply hit our API. Now, how do we set this up? So open up package.json, and right here in this script, go ahead and create a new property and then simply say proxy. And then inside of this proxy, go ahead and simply type localhost 8080. And in fact, http://localhost 8080, and then add a comma right there. So I'm going to save this file and then go back to client.js. And you can see that now every time that I need to make some API calls, I don't have to include localhost 8080. So I'm also going to save this file. And now let's go ahead and open up app.js. And right here, so you see that we are returning this h1. But for now, let's go ahead and before returning the h1, let's first grab our client. So I'm going to say import, and then inside of our client, we had this method called get and then all students. And then from, and then dot / and then client. So I've just noticed that what I need to do is actually export this function. So export const get all students. So this get all students is this one right here, get all students. Now, before we return the h1, let's go ahead and simply say get and then all students. And this will return a promise, so .then, and inside we're going to get the response like that. And now I'm going to say res dot and then JSON, and basically this takes the response and then grabs the JSON inside of it. Now this is also a promise, so I'm going to say dot and then, and then inside we have students. And this is a callback. And for now, let's simply go ahead and say console dot and then log and then students. There we go. So now, and that was a semicolon right there. Save this and also save your client.js. So let me actually now open up terminal. So terminal within VS Code. And then if I simply type npm start or yarn and then start, provided that you have both installed, you should see that our server will start. And there we go. So now if I inspect my web browser, go to console, you can see that right here we have an array. So this means that we successfully managed to hit our endpoint. And you can see that we have two students. So we have James and we also have Eliza. So there we go. You successfully managed to make an API call from your front end to your Spring Boot backend.